I'm talking today about feeling empowered and feeling powerless. And we all have that feeling inside of us that wants to feel like we are in control and we can be powerful in some way. So when we feel powerless, we want to defy rules and we want to defy what someone else is telling us. And it stems back to when we are children. We are the way we're brought up, if we have a very dominating parent, both parents, or if one parent is very strict and wants things their way, so they feel powerful, they're going to pass that on to you and sort of control you. Of course, we need rules growing up. We can't just go and break rules, but it can. A parent can overstep the line and take too much control, leaving us feeling powerless as children. Because you remember when, as a child, you go back to a time in your childhood where you were hurt or you didn't understand something and you wanted an adult to sit down and listen to you and understand you, and they didn't. They either told you, they just ignored you, or they said to get over it, or they just didn't give you that time of day. So you retreat thinking no one wants to listen to me, and that is a feeling of being powerless. In my circumstances, I hated school. I hated every single day of my life at school. I just couldn't understand why we had to be at school, because my soul is this free spirited soul that's come into this human body, and all of a sudden I've got to comply with what these rules are on earth, and I just didn't like it. I really felt powerless. Like, you have to go to school, and every day that I was there, I just did not like being there. I went to dancing lessons. I did ballet and dancing, which consumed the first 16 years of my life. But we were taught to win. It was fun. It was fun to learn dancing. It was fun to do it. But there was also a lot of pressure, as as a little 8-year-old kid, you're in competitions and you've got to win. So, my life was like, I've got to impress people. I've got to make them happy. So I've got to go to school so that my parents are happy and society's happy. And I've got to win when I do dancing. And I did win. I put so much pressure on myself to be the best, because it had nothing to do with me wanting to feel the best for myself. I was trying to please everybody around me. So then it gets into my teenage years and I start rebelling, because no one has taken the time to find out my authentic self, who I really am. They've molded me into what they wanted me to be, and I was playing the part of what they wanted me to be. So I felt powerless. So how am I going to get my power back? I would rebel. I'll go and do things that's going to annoy people, and I'm not going to make them happy. Not thinking at the time it's destructive to me. It was more important that I was defying, I'm not going to do what you want, so I can hold some kind of power still, because otherwise I feel like it's all been taken away from me. And I've noticed during my life that I've had very domineering people in my life. People that want everything their way, so they feel like the powerful person, and I have always felt like unempowered. Like, I just felt like I have to do it their way or I'm never going to win this. Just shut up and just follow the rules, because just to keep the peace. I never wanted to upset the status quo of what was going on, and being authentic to myself, always because of how the other person was going to feel. It was always, I'm putting them first and not myself first. And I see this happening a lot now I know there's people that really, and I'm one of them, don't, with this vaccine, we don't want to be told in a demanding way what to do with our bodies. Yes, we are all open to being informed. We're all open to learning, But when people start blackmailing or dictating or forcing, it doesn't feel right. And then that feeling from our childhood comes up of, I feel like I've lost my power in this. I feel like I have to just go and do what everyone wants. And I've struggled my whole life with anything to do with, if the taxation department, which they have, the taxation department, when they've rang me in the past and said I owe all this money, I felt sick to the stomach. And I felt like they were some kind of high authority up here, and I was just this little person down here, and they could take it all away from me. I felt so disempowered. And then I don't know, just different. Like if you've ever dealt with the taxation department, if you've ever dealt with Centrelink, if you've ever dealt with anybody in some form of authority, it makes you feel like they are taking your power away. You just have to do it, whether you don't have a choice. And that's where this feeling comes up. I know with me, it comes up from when I was a child going, you're not going to tell me what to do. I've lived my whole life being told what to do and being controlled. And now I'm an adult, I want to take control myself. And so it's not so much that it's the actual circumstance, it's that feeling inside that's going, hang on, you're not going to tell me what to do. I'm going to do it my way. And even if it's something that'll sabotage me, I've heard people say, then I'm never going to give up smoking. No one's ever going to tell me to give up smoking, even though they know it's damaging their health. They stick to their stubbornness, saying, I'm not going to give that up. That's trying to hold on to the power that they feel like they've lost. Or I'm not going to give up alcohol. No one's ever going to tell me to give up alcohol or drugs. I'll just keep doing that because that's the one thing that they are controlling themselves. The rest of their life feels like everyone else is controlling it for them. So even though they're making decisions that can be destructive to the body and your health system, you're still doing it so that you feel like you have some sense of power. We're either we go in two different ways. We either go, okay, I'm going to be in charge of this. I'm going to make my own decisions. I'm going to be powerful. I'm going to somehow hold on to my power. Or I'm going to do what I've always done and just let everyone tell me what to do, and I'll just follow along. I'll just follow along because it's easier for me to just follow along. I don't have to create feelings inside me that I don't want to deal with. Because if you've never ever felt like you've had any kind of power and your whole life, your parents were strict with you, you were told what to do at school. If you stepped out of line at school, you got punishment. You get into the workforce, the tax man is after you. You've tried to do something with Centrelink and then they give you some money and then they want it back again. Anything to do with the law, you think, I didn't speed in my car, but that police officer's telling me I did speed and they're all proving. And then I feel really little. I can't seem to fight up against what I feel like big people. I'm a little people and they are big people. They are just people. They are just people themselves that are looking for their own way to hold power. When they can have power over other people, it feeds their ego. Like, you imagine if they were a child or they were bullied at school and they felt so little, and then they thought, right, as an adult, I'm not going to be that little anymore. And they worked their way, like, say, through politics. And as they got higher and higher up the ladder and people were looking up to them, imagine what that does to their ego. Imagine how that feeds that need to want to be more and more powerful. And then they just want more and more and more of it without stopping and realizing what they are doing to other people. So, I think I try to see everything I always see things from a spiritual point of view. And I try really hard to understand both sides of a story. So if I can see somebody who's really, really powerful and who does everything in a way, they live their life to look powerful, underneath have they got real deep insecurities about themselves? Is that just a mask they're portraying? And I'll get into that energy of that person and think, yeah, that's just the persona that they're putting across to, it's a mask, isn't it? What they're trying to show everybody else, that I'm not going to be stepped on anymore. I'm going to be the leader. And they create that existence. What is something that's quite difficult, that people are finding very, very difficult, is to understand everybody's point of view without needing to be right. So, this arguing, should I take a vaccine because everyone else is taking it and it's safe, or should I not because I feel like I've given away my power? Is it even got anything to do with the actual vaccine? And is the problem more about, I don't want to do something I'm being forced to do, and I don't feel like I've got a choice here? Has the government gone about it the wrong way, and they tried to get people to comply, and because of this feeling that people have been powerless for so long, have they just now stuck their feet in going, no, I don't want to be powerless anymore? If I can say no, if saying no is me holding on to my power, then that's what people are going to do. It's not just as simple as telling people what to do anymore. You've got to sort of try and understand how people think, and like, have compassion for the way each person thinks. I have a total understanding for people that do not want to go and get the vaccine because they feel like it's still an experimental thing. They're concerned for their health. They're not anti-vaxxers. They just want to be more informed, or they just want to wait. They want to wait and see if there is a reaction. And I totally understand other people that see no problem at all in getting the vaccine and have gone out and had the vaccine and they're perfectly fine. I can see both sides of the story. So why can't everyone else see both sides of the story? Why is it so difficult to accept other people's decisions? Is it because you then feel like if people don't agree with you, have you again got that feeling like you've just lost your power? People aren't listening to me, people aren't agreeing with me, so I feel like I'm losing that power again, so I've got to start doing something to get my power back. You have a think about the things that you do in your life and the reactions that you have and the decisions you make. Are you making those decisions from feeling or trying to feel powerful so that you're in charge of yourself, or are you making the decisions because you don't feel like you have any power and you're just going to have to go along with what you're told? And is there a fear there of, what if I did hold my own power? What if I came back to my authentic self and stood for what I truly believe? Is there a fear there of the judgment that you're going to get, or are you going to be alienated, or are you not going to feel a part of society? Is it making you feel like the more authentic that you are and true to yourself, the more people are distancing themselves from you rather than accepting you? And that's not a nice feeling, is it? Because you came to this earth as a free spirit, and from day one, really, you've been dictated to and told to be following rules, and you have to do this and you have to do that. And it gets to that breaking point where it's like, how long do I have to just keep giving my power away? I want to hold on to my own power. And when you try and hold on to your own power, you get punished for it. I totally get it. I've always had an issue with anyone who was, as a child in the 60s, I looked up to everybody. Every adult that was in my life, I had them up on pedestals. I thought they were, my parents, my grandparents, my relatives, my teachers. I thought my teachers were like these powerful beings. I just totally didn't even see them as people. And even when I went to work, my very first job, the bosses that were in there was like, oh my God, I've got to do a really good job because I've got to impress the bosses. My whole life was like, I've got to impress everybody to make them happy. I can't just be me. I can't be my real self because they're not going to like that. So I have to be what they want me to be. And if I had to go for, even when my own children were born and I had to go for a parent teacher interview, I still saw teachers as some form of threat in some way. Like I had to be, like they were up here and I was down here. They made me feel inferior in some way. They didn't make me feel that. I was doing that to myself. That's what I was creating. I was creating that I'm an inferior person and they are powerful. And even when I had to go for parent teacher interviews, I still saw them that way when I was an adult. Like I was probably older than some of the teachers that were teaching my children. And I felt disempowered. And it came down to the way I was brought up. And inside this feeling of always trying to find a way to bring back that power. If I have to defy something, well, I will, because that's my way of holding on to my power. So it's an interesting time that we are in because many of us feel like we are losing our power. And when you try to fight against something, and you just feel like you're losing because somebody else is holding more power than you. So I think the only way is to find people on your wavelength, talk to people that are of the same belief as you. At least that way you feel like you're not alone and you feel like you're supported. Even talking to someone who may not believe what same as you, but they are very empathetic and understanding person with a very emotional maturity, where they're not going to tell you you're wrong. They're just going to listen, because that's all you've ever wanted, isn't it? You've always wanted to just be understood, listened to, and really heard. We don't have to change. We don't have to change another person. We're just letting them know you can be your authentic self in front of me and I'll accept you for who you are. I don't need to change you. I need to tell you to be something else. I'm just allowing you to be who you are. And it would be a beautiful world if we could all do that, if we just let go of all the judgment and accepted people for who they are. So that's my hope for the world. A long time coming, I believe. We have too many egos rather than people coming from a more accepting place. So yeah, just thought I know there's a lot of people out there that are feeling a bit lonely at the moment because they're trying to stick to their authentic self, and they feel alone, and they feel like people are against them, and they feel like authority is against them, and it can feel like you're doing something wrong. And I just want to let you know what you're doing is finding your power. That's what you're doing. You're finding where your power is and trying to come back to that authentic self, and keep doing that, because everyone's going to die. I don't care who they are, they're going to die. Just getting off topic for a minute, when I hear people saying about people in power, that they want to take over the world, some kind of the elite group that's going to control the world, I keep thinking to myself, but those people are going to die. So, most of them now maybe are in their 60s, 70s, 80s. What are they going to get? 10 years of feeling powerful over other people, and then they die. And when they die, there is a judgment. They have to judge the way that they conducted themselves on earth. They don't get away scot-free. If they've been manipulative to people, and if they've taken from people and they have not been kind to their fellow man, they will realise that when they've passed, and there will be the consequences to that. So my thought is, so what if we have this elite group that are going to take over, and what happens when they die? Have they passed the baton on to somebody else and said, when I die, you've got to then control the world? And what if that person they're passing the baton on to doesn't want to do that? That part of it doesn't make sense to me. Like, when they say they, and I don't even know who they are, they want to take control of the world, the people are going to die. They're not going to, they can't control the world forever. There's all these new souls coming in. There's new, beautiful new souls and babies being born now that are so aware and so awakened. They are the ones that are coming up the ladder. So how can these people control the world for the rest of our lives if they die? Like that bit doesn't make sense to me. Anyway, that's my rambling for the morning. And I've my website is it's been constructed. I have lots and lots of content on there. I have I've made a lot of videos teaching what I have learnt over the years on how to connect with spirit, the messages that spirit get, how to determine what they are. I'm trying to get out a really big hypnosis session for past life regression. Um, so I just keep coming up with ideas, and I can't wait. It's all there. I just have some technical issues with the guy that was running my site is not being the most helpful in releasing information for my new guy to use, which is causing there's just a block where I can't access my emails at the moment, and we're having trouble with my email account. So hopefully we can keep that email account, otherwise we might have to change it. But apart from that, it's all going really well. We just got this little bit of a hiccup, and fingers crossed that it's all sorted out, and this week I can launch my new site. So thank you so much again for listening to me, and have a lovely day.